Our church, born in 1962, happens to sit between two universities, Texas Southern University and the University of Houston. So I'm surrounded by student unrest. It is a great influence on my life. My wife and I came to Houston in 1955. It happens to have been August 28, 1955, which was the day that a young black man was drowned in Muddy, Mississippi, a young man named Emmett Till. Again, I had no idea that I was coming to Houston on a historic day, but that meant that I was here beginning my work at Texas Southern University in the fall semester of 1955. At the end of that fall semester, a woman in Montgomery refused to give up her seat on a bus, and that officially kicked off what we now call the Civil Rights Movement. I was at that time an employee of the Southern Baptist Convention, which was as conservative a group as you could possibly get. Klansmen were a part of the Southern Baptist Convention, and I worked at Texas Southern University as a Baptist chaplain employed by the Southern Baptist Convention. When student movements began, I was just doing my job at Texas Southern University. There were bus boycotts, there were freedom riders, there were sit-ins. A number of students at Texas Southern University came to the Baptist Student Center where I worked, and they told me Reverend Lawson students are sitting in North Carolina, and we would like to sit in Houston. And so if you will give us some leadership, then we will start a sit-in in Houston. I was shocked, horrified. And I said to them, do you know why your parents sent you to school? Many of them never even got a high school diploma, and they've sent you to school so that you could raise the quality of life for yourself and raise dignity for the family. You have no business getting involved in student sit-ins. And they told me quite flatly, Reverend Lawson, if you won't help us, then we'll go on and do it ourselves. And they walked out of the Baptist Student Center, leaving me standing there and realizing that I had just been catapulted into the leadership of the Civil Rights Movement in Houston. Well, they were arrested. And when they were arrested, somebody had to get them out of jail. So I had the job of pulling together a number of people who would donate enough money to get these students out of jail. That's how I got into the Civil Rights Movement, not because I volunteered to go into it, but was literally dragged into it by students. Then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover began to accuse Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. of being a communist. Dr. J.H. Jackson, who was at that time president of the National Baptist Convention, the largest black convention in the country. And Hoover and J.H. got together, and Hoover told J.H., don't let Martin preach in any Baptist pulpits because he's a communist. And Jackson told the National Baptist Convention that. Well, you've got hundreds of thousands of black Baptists and tens of thousands of black pastors, and they're listening to Jackson say that, and they believe Jackson because he had gotten it from J. Edgar Hoover. Well, that made a great deal of difference in what happened in the reception of Dr. Martin Luther King when he came into cities. Baptist pastors particularly, but most black pastors, would not give him the time of day. He was being well received by the grassroots, but not very well received by the professionals and the middle class. When the March on Washington was held, Martin had already written his letter from a Birmingham jail, and so the whole nation knew a good deal about who he was and about what his feelings and his thoughts were, what his philosophy was. He came to Houston in 1964. That's when I first met him. And when he came to Houston, he found that he was not welcome in churches. So I invited him to come to Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, and he preached to us, and he could stay in hotels here. And when civil rights leaders came to cities, they had to stay in somebody's house. Mine was the house where he stayed. And so we got a chance to see him not just as a civil rights leader, but as a man. And he was just a common black man, he did confront wrong, but he confronted wrong nonviolently. And what he did was to simply articulate justice. I think that there were many people who accepted nonviolence because of Dr. King. He asked me if I would be willing to come to Atlanta and be part of SCLC. That was the biggest compliment I had ever received. And my immediate impulse was to say, yes, I'll be there tomorrow. Tell me when. And then I had to think. I had this little church that was a year and a half old and had maybe 50, 60 people in it. And if I left them right now, they probably could not survive. So I had to choose between this compliment and my staying with the church. And I chose to stay with the church, and I was sure that I would live to regret it. But I stayed with the church, and he said, well, why don't you do this? Will you be the Houston chapter of SCLC? I said, absolutely, I'll be glad to do that. Desegregation was not a moral issue. It was an economic issue. If Houston's image was hit the same way that Birmingham's image was hit, then all the stuff that we had built could come tumbling down. It was finally decided that the best way to desegregate Houston was not publicly, but to in one day, all the restaurants and all the department stores would simply desegregate. All the buses would take the white and colored signs down, and all the drinking fountains would be changed. Well, on that one day, it was also decided that the media would not cover it, that the Post and the Chronicle and Channel 2 and Channel 13 and Channel 11 would be completely silent, no radio coverage at all. And so it just happened that one day. And one day, black people got on the bus and the signs were gone. And one day, black people who always went into Foley's were now welcomed Walmart style, saying, would you like to try on some shoes? We'd never been allowed to do that before. And so it just kind of happened. And it didn't stop prejudice in Houston, but it did stop legal segregation.